I'm here today with Andrew Reaney, discussing the role of corporate kindness. So could you tell us a little bit about the roles that you've had and why you're the right person to talk about kindness?
I've had senior leadership roles, predominantly in Centrica, including British Gas, but also at Thames Water. So I've had the opportunity to lead change, I've had the opportunity to lead big people organisations, and I've had the opportunity to actually lead initiatives which have leveraged the generosity of those organisations and the people that work for those organisations. And I guess I've also felt the impact of some of the change that has been affected as well.
So, Andrew, help me understand, why is it so essential for businesses to be community focused?
Well, I think first of all, it's how you define communities. So communities can be your physical community, where you're located. It can be in the moment, like with COVID, where communities were created because of the situation that we were in. Or it could be segments. It could be certain types of communities that you serve or that you're trying to attract, or that influence how you perform as an organisation. So communities are absolutely massively important.
What happens if a business doesn't look after that community and that kindness?
Well, you're kind of relying on the basics of the product. Is it cheaper? Does it offer a feature that nobody else offers? When actually it is the emotion that customers buy. You know, I always think that customers will buy a product, but they'll stay with a brand. So you've got to be absolutely focused on making sure that your brand has resonance with the communities that you serve.
And engineers are such a pivotal part of the services business, particularly within British Gas. Yet you've had to make some really, really difficult decisions on how you manage that labour force, what kind of pension provisions are in place, etc. And that's obviously, caused some challenges. How have you navigated through that?
It was a difficult time for the engineers. It was a difficult time for the leadership at that time. All you can do is be really honest about why you had to do it. Be really honest about how you're going to move forward as a team. Continue to move forward, provide opportunities. I mean, what's very, very positive now in British Gas, again, looking in from outside, is they're taking apprentices on, which again is a fantastic positive thing to do.
So there's a rebuild activity.
It's rebuild, and you know, and you're reinventing yourself all the time, and especially when you've come out of a really tricky time. That was an awful time for the people in the organisation.
You've talked a little bit about COVID. What did that mean for engineers, and how big was that impact on the labour force?
It's one of the things in 36 years I had at Centrica and British Gas that I'm most proud of, because the easy thing for the business to do was to batten down the hatches, furlough the engineers, focus on where they needed to go in and just focus on that, and wait for this to pass by. But they didn't do that. What they did is they said, how can we help? So coming back to kindness, what does doing the right thing look like for us? And it's one of the proudest things I was involved in. So we contacted the Trussell Trust, who are the biggest organiser of food banks in the UK. The food banks rely on a logistics model where people donate food at supermarkets. That food is then taken to the local food bank, is then parcelled up and it's distributed. That disappeared overnight. And within 4 weeks, we'd set up a national logistics model for them, where we, working with Trussell Trust and Tesco's, would collect food, deliver it to 430 food banks across the UK. That's 4 million food parcels that we delivered through COVID in that way. But what was more impressive was we had 3,000 engineers volunteer. The engineers that furloughed, the business organised so that they could use their vans to support local charities. So they had the ability to put their skills to action and make a fundamental difference in their community.
Effectively, you're saying British Gas really rallied together. Positive impact on engineers, positive impact on communities.
Yeah, and it even had a positive impact on customers as well, because it was demonstrating what the brand stands for.
Now, a sceptic could then say, yeah, that's all very interesting. It's a nice PR initiative, when actually you're laying off staff and having some very tough conversations with staff as well. How do you view that?
Interesting, the only time we ever used it in advertising was at the closure, when we talked about how we operated through COVID. And it was a very positive statement to make.
What would you say to somebody who questions the value of corporates and community involvement?
Most people in organisations really genuinely want to do the right thing. It doesn't mean they don't want to be profitable. It doesn't mean they don't want to, do right by their shareholders. But they do want to do it in the right way. And actually, any organisation, and corporates especially, want to be sustainable. They want to be around for the long term. Being around for the long term means you've got to be embedded in the community, means you've got to do the right things.
And a very direct question, if I may, does kindness pay?
I think not being kind can make a business fail. And yes, kindness absolutely pays. And going back to what I said before, if you believe that kindness is underpinned by doing things that matter to the communities and building trust in your organisation, that improves the retention of your employees, and it gets customers wanting your products more, wanting to stay with you longer, yes, it pays.